Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be giving an education on the United States trade dollar. The United States trade dollar has a very interesting backstory behind it, so please stick around. Welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to give you the history of the U.S. trade dollar. The U.S. trade dollar is a form of American currency. In order to persuade foreign business owners to prefer American currency over the Mexican peso, which circulated overseas, the United States government decided to mint their own trade dollar. It's slightly larger and was created as a solution for business owners to save money on fees when trading with Asian business owners. The United States made sure that the coin that they produced, their trade dollar, had more silver content than the peso, which made it much more attractive to mainly Chinese business owners overseas. The United States trade dollar was a dollar coin minted by the United States Mint to compete with other large silver trade coins that were already popular in Eastern Asia. The idea first came about in the 1860s when the price of silver began to decline due to the increased mining in the western United States. A bill in Congress provided for the issuance of the trade dollar, where it was approved and signed into a law as part of the Coinage Act in 1873. This act made trade dollars legal tender up to $5, and a number of designs were considered for both the obverse and reverse, but the final design chosen was created by William Barber, and you'll hear about that name in future education videos because William Barber is also responsible for the design of the Barber coinage series. As mentioned, the U.S. trade dollar has had an interesting backstory and actually an even more interesting reason on why it was created. Back in the 1860s and 1870s, trade began to increase between China and the United States. Transportation was evolving, and Americans were enjoying purchasing items like tea and silk from China. However, there wasn't a clear system of exchanging currency among different nations. Today, importers and exporters primarily use the US dollar, at least for now, to complete transactions, but it always wasn't that way. When were trade dollars created? Well, the US trade dollar was struck for 12 years from 1873 to 1885. They were only coined for circulation, however, through 1878, but proof coins were offered to collectors until 1885. During the first 2 years of minting, that's 1873 and 1874, the United States sent almost all of the trade dollars minted abroad to ease the trade problems. Shortly after, they granted the silver trade dollar legal tender domestically. That was quite a battle in itself within Congress. The most popular trade dollars were struck in the mid-1870s, as those have the highest mintage. The most collectible trade dollar is from 1885, which is a proof with a mintage of only 5. There are certain dates, particularly the ones from San Francisco, where a large number of uncirculated trade dollars survive to this day. These coins tend to have many contact marks due to being moved around in canvas bags, so it's not real uncommon still to find uncirculated trade dollars. What are these trade dollars made of? Well, U.S. trade dollars were made of 90% silver and 10% copper, as I mentioned before, weighing a little more than the Mexican peso of the same time period. They have reeded edges and a diameter of 3.81 millimeters. The words 420 grains and 900 fine are depicted on the coin's reverse to help convince foreign users of its value. The coin's obverse depicts Lady Liberty sitting on a bale, holding up a branch in her right hand and a ribbon in her other hand, with the word Liberty inscribed. The coin's reverse design is an eagle clutching arrows and a branch with the weight and silver purity below. Above the eagle is a ribbon with E pluribus unum inscribed and the United States of America and trade dollar surrounding the edges. America was not the only country to create its own version of the trade dollar. After China lost the Opium Wars with Britain, Chinese ports were forced open and trade boomed. Large silver coins from all over the world began arriving in China. Great Britain made a trade dollar, Japan made a trade dollar, as mentioned, Mexico did as well. So a lot of these different trade dollars circulated in that region during that time. The United States trade dollar was designed by William Barber, the U.S. Mint's fifth chief engraver. Barber was born in London in 1807, and he later became an engraver for silver plate tableware in the United Kingdom. In 1852, he immigrated to the United States, where he moved to Boston and worked various jobs, utilizing his engraving skills. In 1865, he was able to get a position at the Philadelphia Mint and was eventually appointed to chief engraver in 1869. The U.S. trade dollar is one of the most famous coins Barber ever designed. It was inspired by the seated Liberty dollar and the Britannia. The U.S. trade dollar was minted at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Carson City, and San Francisco. As hoped, the demand for the U.S. trade dollar surged over the years, but unfortunately silver prices began to drop as United States mines out west were yielding enormous amounts of silver. The supply and demand caused the silver coin to fall to an intrinsic value of just 80 cents each, meaning the value of the silver within that trade dollar was only worth 80 cents because the value of silver dropped so much because the United States had an overabundance because of mining out west. As large amounts of trade coins were flowing back into the U.S., they were spent at face value, even though they were just worth 80 cents. So Congress revoked its status as legal tender in July of 1876. So you could no longer spend your trade dollar in the United States as a dollar. The U.S. Mint did continue to produce trade dollars at that point, but only for exportation. 2 years later, the Treasury ended production, and from 1879 onward, they only produced proof versions. The United States trade dollar is one of the most counterfeited U.S. coins out there. I actually have 3 that I'll show you right now. These are part of a counterfeit collection that came in the shop. But why is this counterfeit? Well, this one in my hand here weighs too light. But if you didn't know what a trade dollar looked like otherwise, this is an 1874 CC, supposedly, Carson City, you might think that this is real. And then we had a couple other ones that we actually sent into NGC to be encapsulated, and I did these for customers. This one in particular said not encapsulated, not genuine. So this is another counterfeit, presumably from China. But it's a nice looking coin. But yeah, it's a little scary. So I would tell you, if you're going to buy a trade dollar, make sure you're buying from a reputable dealer, and make sure it wouldn't hurt to buy one that's certified as well. And then this one, it says questionable authenticity. They couldn't even tell me for sure it wasn't real. They just said it was questionable. So it's interesting though, but they're highly faked. As I said, these did circulate in China in the 1870s and 1880s, and China fakes everything. So I guess buyer beware. If you're in the market for a U.S. trade dollar, be sure, as I said, you buy from somebody reputable, and it sure won't hurt to buy a certified example like these here. So I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I am going to put out a survey on my channel on the next educational video you would like to hear in regards to U.S. coinage. So I'll have that survey on my community tab in the coming days, so watch for that. But thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. You all have a great day.